Take a look at a few problems that we did in our review today. These first few I'm going to factor out a greatest common factor. 9x and 33 have a 3 in common. When that 3 is taken or divided into the 9, you have 3x. And when the 3 is divided into the 33, you have an 11. 16x squared minus 12x have a 4 in common. And we have x's also in common. We have a single x in common. You have x squared here, x to the first here. The number you have in common will always be your smallest power. 4 goes into 16 4 times. When an x divides into an x squared, or when an x is removed from an x squared, you're down to an x. 4x goes into negative 12x, negative 3 times. The x's cancel. These next two are a little bit larger problems. 55 and 20 have a 5 in common. X cubed, x squared have an x squared in common. That is your smallest power. 5 goes into 55 11 times. When an x squared is removed from an x cubed, you're down to a single x. 5 goes into 24 times. When an x squared is removed from an x squared, that's a cancel. 18 and a 9 have a 9 in common. X squared y, x and y will have an x in common. That's your smallest power on the x, and a y in common. 9 goes into 18 2 times. When an x is divided or taken from an x squared, you drop down to an x. The y's cancel nicely. 9 goes into that negative 9, negative 1 times, and the x and the y cancel. These next two are trinomials that have a 1x squared leading. When you have a 1x squared leading, you should be able to just jump straight to your answer. You want to split that x squared up here and here, and you want to split your 15 up at the ends. You want to think of a way that you can multiply two numbers to get 15. Signs will have to be the same because of the plus 15. And you want them to add together to be this negative 8. I'm thinking negative 3, negative 5. Set up two parentheses. Split the x squared here and here. The negative 20 here tells me that the signs are going to have to be different. That's the only way you get a negative, is if you multiply a positive and a negative. You want to multiply two numbers to get negative 20. At the same time, though, you want a negative 1 here in the middle. I'm thinking negative 5, positive 4. A couple more like that. Two parentheses. X squared goes here and here. Negative 27 on the end means the signs will be different. Doesn't matter if you put the plus first or the negative second. First, just make sure you get the numbers in with the right signs. 27, I'm thinking 9 and 3, and if I do a negative 9 and a positive 3, that'll work. Signs are going to have to be different here also because of the negative 45. 45, I'm thinking 9 and 5, but there's no way a 9 and 5 will give me a 12 in the middle. But a negative 15 and a positive 3 will. Remember to use that technique that I showed you with the calculator where you go y is equal to your number divided by x. A couple more. The negative 18 on the end means your signs will be different. 18, I'm thinking 6 and 3. And if the 6 is negative and the 3 is positive, that gives me the negative 3 in the middle. $14 on the end is positive. That means your signs will be the same. The negative in the middle kind of helps me, so I know they're both going to be negative. And 14, you know, is 7 and 2. These next two problems are just have a little bit of a twist to them. There is an x in common in all three of the terms. So we're going to factor out an x. X, when it's factored from an x cubed, becomes an x squared. From 11x squared, it becomes an 11x. And from a 24x becomes a 24. And this problem is similar to the ones we did on the previous slides. We're going to do two sets of parentheses. Break your x squared up. 24 is positive, so the signs are the same, and that little rascal there tells me they'll be positive. 24 is usually 6 and 4, but in this case, for the 11, it has to be 3 and 8. Factor out an x squared. 3x, 40. The negative 40 on the end tells me that the signs are going to be different. 40, I usually think of 4 and 10, but 4 and 10 will not give me a 3, but a negative 8 and a positive 5 will. And then these last two, the twist here is we have the y squared on the end, but it's still 1x squared trinomials. Set up two parentheses, split your x squared up here and here, split your y squared up here and here, and then just focus on the numbers. Negative 15 on the end tells me that the signs will be different. 15 is 5 and 3, and as long as the 5 is positive and the 3 is negative, we get this negative 2 here in the middle. Split the x squared, split the y squared. Negative 24 again means that the signs are going to be different. 24 is usually 6 and 4, but 6 and 4 will not give me a 5. But a positive 8 and a negative 3 will. Hey, I hope that helps.